Hi friends, today we are going to discuss on non-per-os extravascular route. Os means oral. That is, in this section we are going to deal with what are the non-oral extravascular route are discussed in this section. As we all know, the majority of drugs are administered generally orally, but in some cases it is not good because of the patient non-compliance, first pass effect, immediate drug action. In such cases, we are preferring the other routes, that is, the non-per-os or non-oral extravascular route are preferable. As we already discussed, what are the factors that affect the absorption in the oral, that is the physicochemical properties of the drug, formulation factors, anatomical, physiological and pathological characteristic of the patient. We already discussed these factors in the absorption previous section. The same factors already have the influence on this non-oral route also, and the lipoidal membrane is the barrier to the transport of the drug here too, and the major mechanism is passive diffusion. For example, we can go to the intramuscular route instead of oral. The greater systemic availability is the advantage over oral drug that may result in less GA degradation and hepatic metabolism. In this route, the peptide, protein drug, etc. can be administered so far. These are the major non-per-oral routes, that is the buccal or sublingual, topical, intramuscular, subcutaneous, rectal, pulmonary, intranasal, intraocular, vaginal and intra. First route, buccal or sublingual administration. Two sites for the oral mucosal delivery of drugs are the one is sublingual route and other is buccal route. Sublingual means the drug is placed under the tongue in case of sublingual, and if the medicament is placed between the cheek and gum, it is known as the buccal route. The barrier to the drug absorption in this route is the epithelium of oral mucosa. The passive diffusion is a major mechanism for the absorption of most of drug, and nutrients may be absorbed by the carrier mediated processes. Sublingual administration. For example, we can tell this example with the help of the subbuccal FASO tablet delivery. This is the mechanism of this figure. This subbuccal FASO tablet uses a route of delivery through the mouth, where this FASO tablet designed to dissolve through the buccal cavity and travel through the highly vascularized mucosal membrane for optimum ingredient availability. First, this FASO tablet is in the form of a FASO liposome. This is simply the diagrammatic representation. The active ingredient is there and displaced or coming in contact with the buccal cavity, that is to the mucosal membrane cell. It come into contact finally with the highly vascularized submucosal tissue. Then this phospholiposome join with this tissue cell, then to the highly vascularized submucosal tissue. Finally, this active ingredient delivered into the bloodstream and produces the effect. The mechanism is that this FASO tablet is placed under the tongue and rapidly dissolve this liposomal matrix. This phospholiposomes quickly disperse and adhere to the mucosal membrane under the tongue and throughout the lining of the mouth. Then this liposome migrate into the highly vascularized submucosal tissue layer and deliver this bioactives directly into the bloodstream, and once it reaches the bloodstream, it moves to the target tissue and exerts its beneficial effect. In this buccal administration, the factors to be considered are: first one, the lipophilicity of the drug. That is, higher lipophilicity is necessary for the passive permeation of this buccal or sublingual route. Second, salivary secretion. Here, the drug should be soluble in aqueous buccal fluid. That is, here biphasic solubility is necessary for absorption, and this absorption is delayed if the mouth is dry. That is, first thing is that the drug should be soluble in the aqueous buccal fluid, then only it produces effect. If the patient or the person having a dry mouth, then the absorption may be delayed. Third factor is the pH of the saliva. Usually 6 is the pH of the buccal cavity. This pH, that is the pH 6, favors the absorption of drug and convert into the unionized form and fast absorption, binding to the oral mucosa. The systemic availability of drug that to bind to the oral mucosa is poor, so that factor should be considered and modify this factor. Sixth factor is the storage compartment. For some drug, for example buprenorphine, the storage compartment appears to exist, is responsible for the slow absorption of drug. So it will act as a storage compartment. In such cases, we can choose this buccal or sublingual route. Then finally, we want to consider the thickness of oral epithelium. That is, the sublingual absorption is faster than the buccal because the epithelium of the buccal is thinner and immersed in large volume of saliva. If the faster action is needed, in such cases we can go for the sublingual mode of administration than the buccal route. The factors that limit the administration for this route are the limited mucosal surface area, so only a small dose can be administered by this route, and in some case there is a chances of bad taste of the medicament and discomfort is there. In such cases, we want to consider these two factors, that is the mucosal surface area and the taste of the drug. As we all know, the majority of drugs are administered generally orally, but in some cases it is not good because of the patient non-compliance, first pass effect, immediate drug action. In such cases, we are preferring the other routes, that is, the non-per-ose or non-oral extravascular route are preferable. As we already discussed, what are the factors that affect the absorption in the oral, that is, the physicochemical properties of the drug, formulation factors, anatomical, physiological, and pathological characteristic of the patient. We already discussed these factors in the absorption previous section. The same factors already have the influence on this non-oral route also, and the lipoidal membrane is the barrier to the transport of the drug here too, and the major mechanism is passive diffusion. For example, we can go to the intramuscular route instead of oral. The greater systemic availability is the advantage over oral drug that may result in less GA degradation and hepatic metabolism. In this route, the peptide, protein drug, etc. can be administered so far. Rectal route of administration. Due to the psychological problem, it diminishes the popularity of this rectal route, but this is still an important route for children as well as old patients. The drug may be administered as solution, as microenema or suppository. Here, the absorption is more rapid from the solution compared to suppositories, but it varies in comparison to the oral route. Irritating suppository bases such as polyethylene glycol promote the defecation and the drug loss. The presence of the fecal matter in rectum retard the absorption of the drug. Here, the rectal route is a highly vascularized route, but the absorption is lower because of the limited surface area. The pH of the rectal fluid is around 8, so it also influences the drug absorption according to the pH partition hypothesis as we already discussed. The absorption from the lower part of the rectum bypasses the first pass, hepatic metabolism. The drugs administered through this route are the aspirin, paracetamol, theophylline, as well as few barbiturates are administered by this route. Third route of administration is topical administration. Excluding the respiratory tract contact with the inhaled layer, skin is virtually the whole human surface come in contact, and skin is the largest organ in the body. That is, when majority of drugs applied topically are meant to exert the effect locally. That is simply the topical administration, that is to skin, are meant to exert the effect locally. When this topically administered drug are meant to exert the effect systemically, that mode of administration can be called as percutaneous or transdermal delivery. Percutaneous delivery or absorption occurs only if topically applied drug permeates the dermal capillaries and enters the bloodstream. As a self-contained discrete dosage form, which when applied to the intact skin, delivered the drug through the skin at controlled rate to a systemic circulation. Anatomically, the skin is made of three distinct layers, that is the epidermis, dermis, and the subcutaneous fat tissue. Epidermis is the non-vascular multilayer outer region of the skin, and the dermis or true skin is a highly vascular region. The drug permeates to this region, that is through the dermis, and taken up into the systemic circulation, and here the sink condition are maintained. The three pathways for the diffusion of solute through the skin, that is transcellular through passive diffusion, intercellular through paracellular, and transappendageal pathway, that is the drug diffusion occurs through this mainly by three ways, that is first through the hair follicle, secondly through the sweat glands, and third through the sebaceous gland. That is this three, that is the sweat gland, through the hair follicle, and through sebaceous gland. This diffusion can be called as transappendageal diffusion, that is occurring in the dermis region. The principal barrier in the entry of xenobiotics at the superficial layer of epidermis is the stratum corneum. That is this part. The stratum corneum is composed of dead, keratinized, metabolically inactive horny cell that act as a rate limiting barrier to the passive diffusion of drug. At the skin site, several factors influence the passive percutaneous absorption of drug, and it can be categorized into based on the skin condition, composition of the topical vehicle, application procedure, and external or environmental. Several factors influence the passive percutaneous absorption of drugs, and it can be categorized as we already said. First, we can move in depth into the skin condition. First skin condition is we want to consider the thickness of the stratum corneum. That is, for example, in the case of foot and palm, where the skin has thickened stratum corneum. So here the absorption is very slow considered to other regions. Second skin condition we want to consider is if there is a presence of hair follicle. That is, if there is numerous hair follicle area is there, the absorption is rapid. Example in case of scalp. If there is the patient having any trauma condition, that is if it is having cuts, rashes, inflammation, mild burn or another condition like that, here in this trauma condition the stratum corneum get destroyed, which will promote the drug absorption. Fourth condition is the hydration of skin. That is, if the skin is soaked in water or come in contact with water or there is occlusion, that means any block in the movement by using any emollient, plastic film or dressing, like that it promotes the hydration of the skin, and finally it increases the absorption. Considering the age as a factor, that is, we can see the gross histological changes take place as the skin ages. That is, age skin. That is, we are considering an age patient. In such patient, the skin is more prone to allergic and irritant effect than normal people as a result of the hardening of blood vessel, etc. As well as in case of infants, infants absorb the drug through the skin as efficient as adult. The ratio of surface area to body weight is 3 times consider that of adult. Hence, systemic toxicity problem is there in case of infant. So, while topically applying drugs also, we want to particularly concern about the infants. This the small matters we are missing, but we want to consider the age because in infant there is a chance of topically toxicity or systemic toxicity in cases. Then the skin microflora. That is, the skin surface support a microbial population which will carry out the biotransformation of topically applied agent. Then consider the skin surface lipid. That is, as we all know, the skin possesses the sebaceous gland. That is, it secretes a mixture of lipid that form an irregular 0.4 to 4 mm thick film on the skin surface, which will influence the permeation. Finally, the anatomical side we want to consider. That is, different skin regions have differences in the thickness of stratum corneum, appendages may be present, blood circulation, overall skin thickness may be considered. So, we want to consider in which anatomical side we are administering the product. That may influence the drug permeation. Second factor is the composition of the topical vehicle. In that, first of all, we want to consider the vehicle. The vehicle in which we are incorporating the drug. So, the vehicle also influences the drug absorption. If the vehicle is in a dissolved form, that is in the solution form, it promotes the absorption than a dispersion form. So, if the vehicle is a solution form, it promotes absorption more than in a dispersion form. Second composition we want to consider in the case of a permeation enhancer. That is, if you are incorporating certain chemicals such as DMSO, propylene glycol, acetone, etc. in the topical products, that will promote the drug penetration. That is, permeation enhancer promote the absorption rate. Third, we want to consider the application condition. That is through this foam method we are administering like that, through rubbing, through occlusion and loss of vehicle. In we want to consider the application condition. That is in rubbing. Rubbing can influence the blood circulation to a particular area and it improve the drug penetration. Occlusion means what? The occlusive effect is produced by the topical preparation and it prevents the loss of moisture from the skin, and this trap moisture promote or influence the drug permeation. Third application condition is the loss of vehicle. That is, evaporation of the solvent may occur depending upon the polarity of this volatile solvent, and it will result in reduction or increase in the solubility of the drug. So we want to consider the loss of vehicle also. Finally, we want to consider the external factors. That is, first one, environmental humidity and temperature. That is, higher humidity and temperature can increase the rate of hydration as well as the local blood flow. Grooming, as it is the frequency or vigor in which one bath, the type of soap we are using, that may affect the variability in absorption. And exposure to chemicals, that is, by occupation some person get exposed to some solvent which will accelerate the shedding of the epidermal cells, which will result in enhanced absorption rate in such persons. Chronic use of certain drugs, that is, the person who are taking cortisol for a long term or keratinolytic like salicylic acid etc., which will result in enhanced drug penetration by the chronic use of such drugs. Fourth route of administration is the intramuscular administration. The absorption of drug from the intramuscular route is relatively rapid comparison to the IV injection. The factors that determine the rate of drug absorption include the vascularity of the injection site, that is, how much blood supply is there into the muscular tissue. We can tell the vascularity supply, that is higher in arm or deltoid muscle, then thigh, that is vascular lateralis, and then in buttock, that is gluteus maximus. The absorption rate decreases in circulatory disorders such as hypertension. Second factor is the lipid solubility and ionization of the drug. That is, highly lipophilic drug rapidly absorbed by passive diffusion, whereas hydrophilic drug or ionized drug slowly absorbed through the capillary pores. Third factor is the molecular size of the drug. That is, small molecules and ions gain direct access to the capillary through the pores, whereas the macromolecules are taken up by the lymphatic system. Here we want to consider the cytophemesis. That is, small peptide fluid can cross the endothelial system by a particular process. That is, cytophemesis means they are moving in a particular form. It is blocked in one region. Then we want to consider the volume of injection and drug concentration. That is, if the injection is concentrated form and large volume is administered, it absorbs faster than if it is in a diluted form. Then we want to consider the pH, composition and viscosity of the injection vehicle. That is, if the drug is in acidic or alkaline pH or in a non-aqueous solvent such as propylene glycol etc., and viscous vehicle such as vegetable oil etc., show slow drug absorption. So we want to consider this factor while administering an intramuscular administration. This is a diagram showing the intramuscular route. Here we are administering to the muscle, that is following the path epidermis, dermis, subcutaneous. After that we are administering to this muscular region. Then these are the intramuscular injection site. This is the deltoid muscle. This is the region we are administering. Then dorsogluteal muscle, vastus lateralis muscle, and finally the ventrogluteal muscle. These are the intramuscular injection sites. Fifth mode of administration is the subcutaneous administration. That is, generally absorption of drugs from subcutaneous route is slower than the intramuscular route due to pure perfusion, but this is important for the administration of drug where rapid response is not desired. That is, this is important for the drugs that are degrade orally. Example, in case of insulin, sodium heparin, like that. In such cases, we want to go for this subcutaneous administration. The rate of administration or rate of absorption of the subcutaneous administration can be increased by two ways. First, by enhancing the blood flow to the injection site. How we can increase the blood flow to the injection site? By massage or by application of heat or co-administration, that is administering vasodilators locally with this administered drugs or by exercise. By this way, we can increase the rate of absorption. Second way is that increasing the drug tissue contact area, that is by co-administering the enzyme hyaluronidase, which will break down the connective tissue and permit the spreading. I repeat, hyaluronidase aid in keeping or helping our body to absorb the injected medication. So we can increase the drug tissue contact area by using hyaluronidase. Because of this relatively slow drug absorption from the subcutaneous tissue, the region is very popular for controlled release medication like implants. This is the anatomical structure of skin. Skin consists of the epidermis, dermis, subcutaneous tissue and muscle. This picture shows an idea about in which area we are administering different routes of administration and at which angle. That is, first of all, we want to consider the intradermal. That is, we are administering the drug into the dermis area at 10 to 15 degree angle, whereas in subcutaneous we are administering at 45 degree angle to the subcutaneous tissue. And finally the intramuscular, that is, we are placing the drug in deep, that is covering the epidermis, dermis and subcutaneous tissue. We are administering drug into depth, that is into the muscle at 90 degree angle. By this diagram, I think you got a deep idea into the various route of drug administration. Sixth route of administration is the pulmonary administration. That is, we are administering the drug intended for the systemic effect by route of inhalation. Here, there is large surface area of the alveoli and higher permeability of the alveolar epithelium. It permits the rapid absorption of the product, that is the exchange of gases between the blood and the inspired air. The drug administered either as gases or as aerosol. Normally, the drug products administered by this route are the bronchodilators like salbutamol, anti-inflammatory steroid like peclomethasone, and anti-allergic like cromolyn. This route also be successfully exploited for the systemic absorption of insulin. The drugs generally administered by inhalation as gases, as volatile or general anesthetic, or as aerosol. In the case of aerosol, the drug delivery of the drug largely depend upon the particle size. So the particle size, based on that, categorize the product into based on the particle size can be categorized to three. First one, the particle having a size greater than 10 microns. So in such cases, there is an impact on mouth, throat or upper respiratory tract mucosa and do not reach the pulmonary tree. So discard these particles. Second is the very small particle that is having the micron size of 0.6 micron, from which the drug absorption is rapid, penetrate rapidly, but chances of easy exhalation is there. Next category is the particle that is from 1 to 5 micrometer size, which deposit within the lower respiratory tract due to impaction, sedimentation or diffusion. So 0.6 micron size particles are promoter than other two size particle. Seventh mode of administration is the intranasal administration. The nasal route is chosen as for systemic delivery, especially in case of peptide as well as protein drugs. The drug absorption from nasal mucosa is as rapid as for parenteral administration because of the rich vasculature, that is the rich blood vessel pressure, and due to high permeability. This route also treats the local symptom like nasal congestion, rhinitis, etc. The absorption of the intranasal drugs depend upon the drug lipophilicity as well as the molecular weight. That is, a faster rate can be seen in depend upon the lipophilicity, and slower rate depend upon the drug molecular weight. That is, for example, rapid absorption can be seen for the drugs having molecular weight up to 400 Dalton and satisfactory absorption up to 1000 Dalton. If the size is more than that, we want to use the permeability enhancer such as surfactant for such absorption. The peptides up to 10 amino acid appear to be able to penetrate through the nasal mucosa. For example, vasopressin, oxytocin, etc. Other factor we want to consider is the pH. That is, the pH of nasal secretion is in between 5.5 to 6.5. Its viscosity we want to consider, and pathological condition. That is, if there is any common cold, rhinitis, etc. So we want to consider such things while administering intranasally. The three potential mechanisms for the delivery from nose to brain is: first one, the drug that reaches the systemic circulation may subsequently cross the blood-brain barrier. So we want to consider if the drug want to cross blood-brain barrier or not. Second is that substances may cross the olfactory epithelium through simple diffusion. So it passes the nerve to the CNS and gain entry to lamina propria. From lamina propria, it enters the lymphatic circulation or lymphatic circulation. Third, we want to consider an agent may taken upon by a neutral cell, undergo intracellular axonal transport and gain entry to brain. So we want to consider this mechanism also for the delivery from nose to brain. Next administration route is intraocular administration. That is, we are administering the drug to the eye. Topical application of drug to the eye is mainly for the local effect like mydriasis, meiosis, anesthesia or treatment of infections, glaucoma, etc. Here, the sterile aqueous solution of drug are widely used in conjunctival sac or conjunctival cul-de-sac. This drug should possess the biphasic solubility. That is, it should possess a biphasic solubility for more action. Higher pH will decreases the tear flow and promote the drug absorption. And the rate of blinking also influences the drainage loss. The human eye can hold up to 10 microliter of fluid. Hence, installation of small volume of drug solution in concentrated form it increases the effectiveness than if it is in the diluted form. Viscosity imparters also increases the bioavailability by prolonging the drug contact. Systemic absorption. Sometimes systemic absorption with low therapeutic index, that is TI, such as timolol, etc., may precipitate undesirable toxic effect. That is, systemic entry of drug can occur and which drain the lacrimal fluid into nasal cavity and finally into GIT. This toxic effect can be prevented by simply by eyelid closure or nasolacrimal occlusion by pressing our fingertips to the inside corner of the eye after the drug instillation. By this simple technique, we can avoid the systemic absorption and finally resulting in the toxic effect can be prevented. Ninth mode is the vaginal administration. The drugs given for the intravaginal application are generally intended for local treatment, that is for bacterial or fungal infection or to prevent contraception. The route is now used for the systemic delivery of contraceptives, steroids. The advantage is that there is no first pass metabolism. Here we can control the delivery and termination of drug action is possible over here. The vaginal duct length is 7.5 to 9 cm long and the mechanism of transport is by passive diffusion. The factors we want to consider is the pH of the luminal fluid, that is 4 to 5, vaginal secretion we want to consider, and the microorganism present we want to consider. The normally administered drug coming under this administration is the steroid drugs. Most of the route of administration follow the passive diffusion as the absorption mechanism. Next, we can move into the different methods for the absorption study. What are the different methods we are used for studying the absorption? First, in vitro method, in vivo method, and in situ method. In vitro method, we are maintaining a condition outside the body, and by using that, we are determining the permeability of the drug using live animal tissues. Second, in vivo and in situ method. Next, we can simply discuss what are the in vitro method, in vivo and in situ method for the future studies. In vitro method. In vitro method is done to assess the major factors and to predict the rate and extent of drug absorption. Here, we are using the intestine of the lower experimental animal such as rats, rabbits, guinea pigs, etc. are taken. Different in vitro methods we are using. First one is the physicochemical method. Here we are using the partition coefficient to measure the lipophilicity of the molecule. Here, for example, we can tell octanol is selected as the oil phase for that, as it having the similar properties of the biological membrane. And in this method, we are determining the log D, that is the distribution coefficient, to find out the extent of drug permeability. Second in vitro method is using the artificial membrane. Here we are determining the permeability. Passive membrane permeability is determining here. For that we are using PAMPA, that is parallel artificial membrane permeability assay is done to find out the permeability of intestinal permeability. Third method is the chromatographic retention indices. For that we are finding the IAM and MLC. That is to determine the diffusion or the intestinal absorption. Here we are simply determining the passive intestinal absorption. For that, first we are using IAM, that is immobilized artificial membrane are used for determining the passive absorption, or we can use MLC, that is a micellar liquid chromatography also used to determine the absorption rate. Fourth in vitro method is by using isolated intestinal cells. That is, using small intestine perfused with the enzyme solution, and cells are treated with the chelating agents or enzyme. By this, we are finding the rate of absorption. Fifth is by using the tissue techniques. That is, four tissue techniques are the first one is the everted small intestinal sac technique. We can just go through these techniques one by one. That is, here we are isolating the small segment of the small intestine, inverting as the name suggests. Here we are inverting the small intestine and filling the sac with a small volume of drug solution and assaying at similar condition and determining the drug concentration in the intestine. Second technique is the everted sac modification. Instead of first method, here number of different solution may be tested. Over here, single segment using the single segment of the intestine. Third technique is the circulation technique. This method is applicable to find out the kinetic study as well as the factors affecting the drug absorption. Using both surfaces are exposed to study over here. Fourth method is the everted intestinal ring or slice technique. Here, the entire small intestine isolated from the animal washed with a saline solution and dried with the help of filter paper. Here, the mechanism of the drug absorption can be studied as well as kinetic studies can be performed here. Sixth method is the diffusion cell method. This is a simple technique we are using in our lab. That is, small segment of the intestine maintained between two glasses. Chambers are filled with a buffer at 37 degrees Celsius. Two compartments here we are using. One is the donor compartment filled with the drug solution and second is the receptor compartment with the buffer solution. And we are finding out the drug absorption moment and find out the concentration, and using the dissolution study we are finding the extent of absorption. Seventh technique is the cell culture technique. This is complex compared to other techniques. Generally, this is carried out outside the natural environment. The calcium CaCO2, that is the colon cancer cell line, is used for this technique. This is a most widely technique to find out the absorption. At the skin site, several factors influence the passive percutaneous absorption of drug, and it can be categorized into based on the skin condition, composition of the topical vehicle, application procedure, and external or environmental. Ninth mode is the vaginal administration. The drugs given for the intravaginal application are generally intended for local treatment, that is for bacterial or fungal infection or to prevent contraception. The route is now used for the systemic delivery of contraceptives, steroids. The advantage is that there is no first pass metabolism. Here we can control the delivery and termination of drug action. This is the example of dilution method. Here we are using the adult male and fasted for the 16 to 24 hours. Midline abdominal incisions can make an intestinal segment to be perfused and identify an L-shaped glass inlet cannula is placed and find an inlet cannula is placed, and with the help of syringes we are connecting the dissected part. After that, washing is conducted and syringe is filled with the drug solution. With this syringe we are introducing the drug solution and analyze for the drug content. This is a simple method we are finding out that in the single pass perfusion technique, as we already said, here the drug solution passes through the intestinal segment just once. So it's named single pass perfusion method. In intestinal loop technique, we are also used for studying the absorption. Like intestine, the absorption from stomach is the in that we are using the pylorus segment filled with the saline, 0.1 normal HCl and 0.5 molar sodium chloride, and to find out the absorption of the mostly acidic and weakly basic drugs. This is a picture depicting the in situ method. In in situ method, we are using this glass-like apparatus. Here there is a donor compartment and receptor compartment, and in the outside part of the receptor compartment is filled with the water jacket. There's a steering bar to maintain the rotation of the particular setup, and in between the donor compartment and receptor compartment we are placing, similar to skin condition, we are placing our product, and there's a sampling port over here. Through the sampling port we are administering the drug. The similar condition of the body, that is 37 degrees Celsius, is maintained over here. Similar to our body condition, we are giving the proper condition and finding out how much drug get absorbed in this system. Different methods are for absorption study. Normally we are using the dissolution study pattern in our lab. Types of apparatus, mainly we are using the paddle as well as the basket type. This is based on IP. As per USP, apparatus 1 is basket and apparatus 2 is paddle. There is slight deviation in IP, so we must distinguish it. That is, USP apparatus 1 is basket and in IP it is paddle. Normally paddle type and basket type are using. Another methods of dissolution are rotating basket, paddle method, reciprocating cylinder method, flow through cell method, paddle open disc method, cylinder method, reciprocating disc method. As a whole, the mechanism is that here in the dissolution apparatus, that is with the help of the basket, I can describe the process. That is, in basket method, we are singly placing a tablet in our mesh or basket attached to the product. The basket is immersed in the 1000 ml cylinder, and the motor, with the help of the motor, we are rotating the condition and we are maintaining at 37 degree plus or minus 0.5 degrees Celsius. Normally in the basket method we are giving 100 rpm rotation is setting. In paddle normally at 50 rpm, and we are adjusting the pH according to a particular product. And similar to our body condition, we are sampling the fluid with the drug. How much fluid is withdrawn, similar are maintained to maintain the same condition, and at a particular interval we are finding out the drug concentration and find out how much drug is absorbed in our body. This is a simple thing or process carrying out in the dissolution study. By this we come to the end of the session, that is the absorption chapter. Hope you will get an idea about the topic covered under the absorption. If you are having any doubt, please comment in the comment section. Those who are watching are not subscribed till now, please subscribe, enable the notification for future sessions. Thank you for watching. Thank you.